What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, joined by Tyler Stafford, and in 8 days, I will be 40,000 feet in the air on the way to West Palm Beach, where an absurd number of pitchers and catchers will report to West Palm Beach for Astros spring training and to start the 2026 season. If there's been any theme of this winter, which is not done yet, but if there's been any theme of the majority of this winter, it has been stockpiling pitching. And the Astros continued that on when did we last record a pod? Because it was that night that we were recording the podcast and I started getting
Thursday or Friday. Yeah.
I think it was Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you go back and watch that Thursday pod that Josh, Tyler, and I did, there's like the final 10 minutes where I say like 6 words and I'm just like, they make fun of me. Like I'm in the background, like texting on my computer and trying to figure out what's going on because I had gotten a little bit of a heads up during the podcast that the Astros were in deep discussions about making a trade. We ended the podcast. I posted it. And then the trade was done. The Astros acquired Kai-Wei Teng from the New York Giants. From the San Francisco
New York football Giants.
From the San Francisco baseball Giants. They acquired Tang from the San Francisco Giants in exchange for catching prospect Jansel Villarreal, who it's amazing, Tyler, how everyone has heard of all these prospects that I've never heard of because anytime they give up like an A-ball kid or a double A-ball kid, it's the end of the world. Like, why would you give up this 23-year-old catcher that's going to be the future of the organization? But
people get mad online at Jansel culture. So that's what it was.
Nevertheless, the Astros added some more depth with Kai-Wei Teng. Little bit of insight as to why they did this. First and foremost, and I think we talked about this a lot on the last pod about how much options matter, about how much having minor league options matter. Kai-Wei Teng does have minor league options. So the Astros will be able to shuttle him back and forth between Sugarland and between the big leagues. They are going to bring him to camp as a starter. Like, think of him in the Nate Pearson category. Is probably ticketed for relief, is probably ticketed for a role in the Astros bullpen, but will be given the chance to start in spring training, will be stretched out. He's made 12 big league appearances, all with the Giants. 7 of them were starts. So he is in his brief big league career, he does have a starter's pedigree, but the Astros, as you know, as we all know, have a lot of starters, have a lot of pieces to choose from. This was something done, to make a more functional roster. They needed, especially from the right side, right-handed relief options. Tyler, we did the projected opening day bullpen on the last one, and the 4 right-handed relief options that we had in there were Nate Pearson, Roddery Munoz, Brian Abreu, and Aniel De Los Santos. None of those guys have options left. Roddery Munoz, if he's not on the roster, he has to be offered back to the Reds as a Rule 5 pick. And the other 3 guys have no options left. So they were pretty inflexible, especially with right-handed relief. So this helps that. It addresses that problem with maybe how they will construct their roster going forward. But I think also it just underscores how competitive in 8 days this is going to start in spring training, because they have a lot of pitchers that you really could make an argument could make the opening day roster. You've probably got about at least 7 or 8 guys competing for maybe 3 spots. And that's more than they've had really in the recent past.
Yeah. And not only that, but one of the issues with running a 6-man rotation, which the Astros are going to start the season doing, is that you're an arm down in the bullpen. And we saw last year when you have a guy that can't make it out of the 3rd inning and you're in a 6-man rotation and your bullpen is already overworked, it's really difficult to pick up just those like dirty bulk innings that you just need in some game. There are going to be games where you're down 8-0 in the 3rd inning and you just have to get outs and you have to try not to use any of your big arms so you can make it to the next time that something matters. And for all of the depth that the Astros have at the rotation level, like we said, there's a difference between like Colton Gordon is a starter he's not your like long relief option. I mean, he could be, right, but you want to keep him stretched out as a starter and in a rotation so that when a pitcher has to go on the IL, you have a guy that can come up and fill that spot in the rotation. But what the Astros also need is 2 or 3 long relief options who they can shuttle back and forth between Sugarland and Houston to fill in these innings for the games where you just got to have a guy get 10 outs in the middle of a game and then go back down. And this provides them another option to do that. Again, you're not making this trade with the playoffs in mind. This is, we got to get through a 162 game season. We have a lot of question marks at the back end of our rotation. And you know that in the first month, there are going to be starts pretty much by anyone not named Hunter Brown. There's going to be a start that somebody just can't get out of the third inning, and you're going to have to blow up your bullpen. And so it's good to have a guy like this in the bullpen that you can use and then shuttle back and forth without there being any, complications to their development or their future plans as a starter throughout the season.
Yeah, think of this as the Brandon Belak role from a couple of years ago. Or I'm trying to think other guys that have fit into this mold.
Well, he's no Brad Peacock, but it is in the Belak role. I think that's fair. I mean, it's the old school, just long relief pitcher. You just need guys like this. And, the Astros don't have a lot of optionable players in that vein. And so this makes a lot of sense. I think sometimes people get fussy just when they see prospect written next to a player's name. I think especially Astros fans who, if you made it through the dark years where all you cared about were prospects, it does hurt to see, oh, this prospect was traded. This was not a guy that you were going to be seeing anytime soon. You'll be all right. And who knows, maybe Chance will have a wonderful career. I hope that he does. But this was not a 2026 contributor.
No.
And that's where the Astros are focused right now.
It's interesting. Like there are some people in baseball, like in baseball media that cover the sport that, only will assign the word or label prospect to like an actual good, like a top 100 guy or a guy that's like consensus top 5 prospect.
The rest are minor leaguers. They're just not in the big leagues yet.
Yeah. Like it's hard for me like when I'm writing this, like it's hard for me to like refer to them as anything other than prospect. Like maybe I should change. Maybe that's something I should change in my coverage is that, unless your name is like Bryce Matthews or Xavier Nyans or Walker Yannick, like you're a minor leaguer.
Prospect implies that you are waiting on that player. To me, this person is a prospect. You have him circled in your organization as somebody that you are waiting to be at the big leagues. And those people are very valuable. But I mean, half of the people that are in the big leagues were not prospects. They're just guys who kept being good at every level and just forced their way into the big leagues. And again, maybe he will, but he was in rookie ball or in A ball last year. You're going to be all right. This was not a guy that was forcing his way to the big leagues this year. Now, of course, I'm going to say that, and he's going to come up in July and make a late push for the Giants or whatever. Probably not, but you can come back and clip this if that's what happens.
This will probably work out as good as the last time the Astros traded a catching prospect to the Giants for somebody that could help their current major league team. They acquired Mauricio Dubon.
Tyler Heineman.
They acquired the last time is when they acquired Mauricio Dubon for Mike Papierski. Would you like to guess where Mike Papierski went to school?
Was it LSU, Chandler?
It was. He was Alex Bregman's. He was Alex Bregman's roommate his freshman year.
I thought you weren't allowed to know who was Mike at LSU.
Oh yeah, that's tough. Well, he went by Michael, so it didn't matter.
Okay.
He switched a lot. He went from Michael to Mike to Michael. I think he's a coach in the Mariners system now. Like I hope Pap's doing well. He's a good dude. But that one worked out for the Astros. They did not miss Michael Papierski. They loved Mauricio Dubon.
Yeah, you don't want to pap smear him. I mean, he's doing fine.
Did you see what did we talk about what Cam Smith said about Dubon at FanFest?
No.
It's kind of it's a little sad. It's poor Cam. So he was talking, like he did his whole scrum and was talking about just everything that went on. And somebody asked him, another reporter asked him, like, well, last year, like, who did you rely on? Who helped you get through a lot of your struggles? Who helped you kind of assimilate in the big leagues? And as Cam is wont to do, Cam just started listing like every veteran on the team, basically. But then he's like, and then I had Dubon. And like, you could see the smile coming in his face. He was all excited. And like, you could tell then, but now he's not here anymore. And that's when I go, well, I was going to ask you, like, Cam, what are you going to do without Dubon here? And he gave this kind of tear-jerking answer. He said, Dubon, oh my gosh, he was our DJ. You could say he was my best friend, a mentor, but it's baseball. It's a business. I know he's happy to continue playing this game. We'll see him down the road. So if anyone can find Cam Smith a new best friend, that's
opening day starting shortstop Mauricio Dubon to you.
Hell yeah. It's funny how that works. Good for him. Good for Doobie. He's gonna succeed in Atlanta. But
it's also what we've been saying about other trades, though, is that sometimes somebody gets hurt and suddenly a team needs that player a lot more. Braves would have paid a lot more for Mauricio Dubon today than they did 2 months ago. But of course, that's just how roster construction works. But when you're not in a position where you have to move someone just because you feel like it can make sense to just wait it out and see, because again, that is just absolutely going to happen. It could happen to the Astros too. I mean, the Astros could be in a position where somebody gets hurt and they need somebody in that position. But, these things happen. And sometimes you have Mauricio Dubon starting for the Braves.
He was the Astros opening day second baseman
a
couple of years ago after Jose Altuve got hurt in the World Baseball Classic, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Before that, we already mentioned 8 days until I fly to West Palm Beach and Pitchers and Catchers Report. We have been clamoring for 5,000 YouTube subscribers before that day. We are currently at 3,729. So we have work to do.
I've been boots on the ground getting people. I see anytime I see someone just in baseball gear, I'm like, hey, come on board. We were at a Down syndrome event with my family the other day, and I saw another guy wearing one of Jake Berger's hats that says Down syndrome is cool on it. I was like, oh, you must be a baseball guy if you're wearing a Jake Berger hat, and told him about the podcast. So I'm getting them one by one. Just this is how we do it, people. You find a friend, you tell them about it. That's what we need.
Yes, be like Tyler, be like the gentleman in the Jake Berger hat, and subscribe to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube right now, it's pretty easy. Just hit the bell. I think it's the bell, and that subscribes you.
Button that says subscribe. They'll figure it out.
That too can't be that hard. It's user friendly. Also like the video, that helps us a lot. But if you're doing that right now, it'll take you 5 seconds. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We want to get to 5,000. That means we've got about 1,200. Can we get 1,200 subscribers in the next 8 days? It'll be fun to find out. Let's try to do that. So when those pitchers and catchers report, Tyler, it's pretty obvious that we just talked about it. There is going to be probably more competition this spring, more like actual competition, and not just like who's going to be the 8th guy in the bullpen or who's going to be the 7th guy in the bullpen. Like that doesn't really, float my boat, but there's going to be competition. Like who is going to be the 5th and 6th starter in this rotation? Like, and if you're not the 5th or 6th starter, who's going to be the swing guy and the long guy in the bullpen, which will matter for the reasons you talked about earlier. If you're going to open with a 6-man rotation, you're going to have days where you may have a designed piggyback, or you're going to have, especially because they're doing this early in the season. Like
they're not stretched out either. Yeah.
Right. Hunter Brown, Hunter's different. He's going to be ready to throw 100 pitches on opening day. But there will be guys that open in this rotation that maybe are only built up to like 60 to 70 pitches. and they may go into their first or second turn through the rotation and they may have planned for a piggyback start, or they've planned for, so it's going to put a lot more emphasis on, does Ryan Weiss make the rotation or does he make the bullpen as a long guy? Does Nate Pearson, do they see enough in him that maybe he can get through a lineup 2 or 3 times and they give him a spot in the rotation, or does he go be the long guy in the bullpen? Same thing now with Kai-Wei Teng. You've got Spencer Arrighetti, you've got Lance McCullers. Should we let's have that conversation. What is going to happen with Lance? I do not know. If I knew, I would tell. Do you have any thoughts or predictions of how Lance's spring is going to go and how this is going to go for him?
Spring doesn't count for Lance. He's going to make unless it is just he cannot get an out, and it's just crazy. But if he's throwing strikes, if it's over the plate somewhere, he's going to have, I don't know, 4 starts maybe to make, and if they're good, he'll keep going, and if not, it's probably the end. I think that's kind of where they were at last year too, and the season just ran out. I mean, if what had happened at the end of the season had been in May, I think we might have seen something different, but it just happened to be like, it's the end of the season. We can kind of, put him on the IL for whatever it was, some foot thing or, something to.
He had a weight room accident with his foot.
That's right. Of course. Yep. Some of those things, but you can't do that over a whole season. So I think you're just going to see a couple of starts out of him, and hopefully he can find a way to get through those. But again, even this all underscores the need for depth in the bullpen, because even peak Lance McCullers is getting you 5 1/3 and throwing 102 pitches.
Right.
That's best case scenario when he was very good, and we have not seen that consistently in a long time.
Yeah, he wasn't. When he was really good, when he was having his all-star years, efficiency has never been one of his hallmarks. He has never been the guy that can get 7 innings on 90 pitches. That's just not who he is.
Yeah.
I think, and I
kind of got all those outs just on a curveball though.
I remember.
That was pretty cool.
I remember.
I like
24
that.
straight. He just needed 24 pitches that night. And
not that hard. Just do that every time.
Sure. But I mentioned it a little bit on the last pod, and I wonder if you kind of agree with this assessment that going into, again, before anyone has stepped foot in West Palm Beach and been seen by the new revamped Astros medical team and gotten their physicals, and we understand about health, we don't know anything about the health yet, but knowing what we know now, it would seem to me that going into camp, Spencer Arrighetti and Lance McCullers probably have just the inherent leg up for the last 2 spots in the rotation. That does not mean they're going to win them. That does not mean that is done solid, that they're going to open the season with those 2 guys in the rotation. They still will have to pitch well. And it very well could happen that Ryan Weiss comes to camp and outpitches both of them, or Nate Pearson, or Kai-Wei Teng, or Blue Ball, or
pitchers in spring training, it's not like a hitter where you're just getting the same bulk number of at bats and you can really see a different, a pitcher is only going to get 3-4 starts maybe, and the first couple ones are going to be an inning or 2. So it's harder, in my opinion, for a pitcher to really show. Unless they're just lights out. But other than that, I think it's hard to jump spots in spring training.
I think the only pushback I'd have to that is there is so much data available on pitching and pitch shapes and pitch types and how a pitch is playing, what quadrant, they can break it down to such a granular level pitching wise. And I'm not saying they can't do that on the hitting side, but it's maybe a little more instructive on the pitching side. You got to remember, they've got TrackMan and Hawkeye and all this on every bullpen these guys throw. Every live BP on the backfield these guys throw is being charted by every iPad you can imagine, and they can get the data from all that. I think that to me may be a little bit more instructive than what you can get off of how hard a guy hits a ball off of an A-ball kid in the first grapefruit league game, or
Yeah,
like
but I mean,
bat
look,
speed or things like that.
even if a guy is throwing a pitch and it grades as really good or whatever, like okay, he'll still be throwing that in a month. You probably just want to see what you have with the established. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I it's really agreeing with your first point, which is that McCullers and Arrighetti have a leg up on everybody. I mean, there would have to be a catastrophic change for those two guys to not be in the opening day rotation. But as we've seen, that doesn't mean anything. It's a very long season. And again, if a new guy is coming up and is pitching well, if they're still pitching well after 3 starts in Sugarland, then you bring them up then. But I don't know that you want to option again unless it is just crazy. Like I don't think you're wanting to option Spencer Arrighetti, somebody who has been in the big league clubhouse for a couple of it's not like he's been going up and down. Like that guy's
Right.
been an established part of your rotation. I mean, obviously with McCullers, you're either he's in the rotation or he's not on the team. So I don't know how much a handful of starts in spring training really do that. Again, other than if McCullers just cannot get an out or he's
I mean,
throwing 87, like those are the things that that's where that would happen.
I mean, I don't want to, and I don't want to make this just a piling on McCullers thing too. Like Arrighetti's under the same thing. Like he was not good last year. I mean, I know he was hurt for most of it, but like when he did pitch last year, he was not good.
Yeah.
And so if
It's different. I mean, that's you can chalk that up to like, it was bad couple starts at the beginning, then hurt, and then
I mean, sure,
whatever.
sure, but he still is going to have to go to spring training and pitch well.
Yes.
Like I don't think Spencer Arrighetti is in a spot where he can just be handed a rotation spot. Like he is going to have to go. He's going to have to go earn it. Now, does he have a leg up over the other guys we have talked about? Yes, for all the reasons you just mentioned. He has been in the big leagues now this will be his 3rd full big league season. He has had a lot of success at the big league level for a longer period of time than the other people he's competing with, aside from McCullers. But yeah, he has the leg up, no doubt, but he's still got to pitch well. Like this is not a Dusty always used to say this ain't a tryout camp. Like you ain't just gonna get handed anything. And so yeah, I think while we're talking about McCullers in this way, like the same thing can be said for Arrighetti because the last sight you saw of him when he was on the field was not good. And so he's going to have to pitch well. And
especially because you're bringing in a lot of that competition is from outside the organization too.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's just the guys who've been around for a while. Like you've got 3 or 4 guys right now that you've acquired this offseason that, again, if they're, dramatically better than you in the next month or two, then certainly you could see that happening. But again, you're going to see all of those guys make a start at some point this year. You just are. That's how big league season works. You need 10 starters over the course of a year. So it's good to have.
Sometimes you need that in 2 months.
Sometimes you do. And they've already lost a big bullpen arm in Chas McCormick, so they're going to have to make up for that, which is why they made this trade.
Yeah. Congratulations to Chaz and his wife Courtney. By the way, they had their first child, I believe, right after New Year's. I think Chaz announced on Instagram. Congratulations to them. Chaz is a dad, which that's a scary thought, but props to them. Good, happy for them. Hope everyone's happy and healthy. Speaking of departed hitters, Eugenio Suarez signed with the Reds today. 1 year, $15 million. If you'd like to litigate why a guy that hit 50-something homers last year got a 1-year deal, you can look at how much he strikes out. You can look at his age. You can look at his defensive value, all of which are non-existent. So he just hits dingers. And that's what the Reds are going to pay him to do. He is going to go hit like 4th in the Reds lineup. I don't know who's going to hit around him because I don't know who else is on the Reds. But with Eugenio Suarez off the market, that means there really is no free agent third baseman out there for teams that need third basemen to acquire, which brings us back to the Isaac Paredes discussion.
Has there been any team that has lost like 2 all-star third basemen in the last year or so?
Let me think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is. So obviously, the reporting that I have read from both Jen McCaffrey, who covers the Red Sox for the Athletic, and other reporters that cover the Red Sox, that the Red Sox did not make Eugenio Suarez an offer. So with that in mind, I'm not sure how much this impacts the Red Sox directly with Isaac Paredes, because if the Red Sox weren't even going, if they didn't offer Eugenio Suarez, I can't imagine that him coming off the market is going to like force them to do more that they were never in on him in the first place. So, but I do wonder, the Pirates were a team, reading some reporting from Pittsburgh this week. The Pirates were a team that showed a lot of interest in Eugenio Suarez. They need a third baseman. Ben Sherrington, the president of baseball operations of the Pirates, and Dana Brown have had a lot of conversations this winter. Friend of the pod, Mike Burrows, as a result of some of those conversations. I will say, I don't think I've said this anywhere. I don't think I've reported it anywhere. But within those trade discussions with the Pirates about Mike Burrows, Joey Bart's name came up a couple of times. Former number 1 pick, is now basically a backup catcher in Pittsburgh. That's obviously would fulfill an Astros need. Again, I am not sitting here saying that Isaac Paredes for Joey Bart, let's do it. Like, that's not at all an equitable thing. But this is me giving you some just informed what I've heard and some things that could help connect some dots. Everyone has asked me, who are the other teams in on Isaac Paredes? And the straightforward answer is I don't know, but I do know that there are other teams that are talking. So maybe this compels the Pirates, because the Pirates were a team that I think they had made the same offer to Eugenio Suarez, if not a little bit better of an offer, but he went to Cincinnati because he has played there before, knows the ballpark well, he's familiar with the clubhouse, things like that. So he went for familiarity. But who knows? Maybe the Pirates enter the fray, because at the very least, Tyler, we do know that the Pirates and Astros have communicated a good bit this winter. So it's not as if Dana Brown calls Ben Sherrington or vice versa, they're starting from ground zero.
Yeah. Joey Bart makes a lot of sense for the Astros. Like you said, a backup catcher that you can comfortably rely on to not embarrass you out there. That makes a lot of sense. I agree with you that is not equitable for Isaac Paredes, but it is certainly a starting point in some sort of trade discussions. Plus, I think $10 million might be too rich for the Pirates anyway. So,
I mean, they made the same. Eugenio Suarez signed for $15 million, and the reporting out of Pittsburgh says that they made him the same offer. So if they were willing to spend $15 million on Eugenio Suarez, who we can maybe litigate this. I think Isaac Paredes is a better player than Eugenio Suarez. Like, he's just give more overall value. So if they were willing to spend $15 million on that guy, then
what about $20 million on a different guy?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
Okay, well, I tried. That's my best sales pitch.
I think they have a fellow named Spencer Horowitz that's going to play first base for them.
Okay.
He was one of the Blue Jays cast-offs that didn't get to be on the team of cast-offs that made the World Series. So they traded him, I think, before last season. So I think Spencer Horowitz is going to play first for the Buccos.
I assume until proven otherwise that Joey Harrington is just playing every position for the Pirates until I look up and that
Joey Harrington, the former Oregon quarterback.
No, who am I thinking of? Harrison. What was their utility guy that just played for them forever?
Josh Harrison.
Joey Harrison. That's the same guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say Andrew McCutcheon.
Actual that one I would remember, but I'm saying playing every other position. Josh Harrison, MLB The Show legend. He's great in the battle rounds of MLB The Show.
All this being said, there is nothing, as far as I know, at 8:35 p.m. on February 1st. Not much in the Isaac Paredes or Christian Walker, for that matter, trade discussions. Dana Brown, coincidentally, is the Astros are doing their media luncheon on Tuesday. If you're into their team motto or slogan for the year, that's the day that they reveal it. So be around your computer at 11:30 a.m. or noon on Tuesday, and you'll get to see what the hashtag and what the slogan is for the season. That they do that at this luncheon, but Dana Brown and Joe Espada also talk to us. So we'll get to talk to Dana on Tuesday. Who knows? Maybe by then things will have picked up.
What's going on with Jake Myers? Anything?
I think he's just chilling in Nebraska. It's probably kind of cold. He's got 2 kids under 3, probably pulling his hair out because of that. But I think he's doing all right.
Okay. Nothing heating up there. I mean, it feels like at this point they're just okay with him being the opening day center fielder. It doesn't seem like they have this pressure to make a move before spring training or anything like that.
Again, like anything can change. I mean, it takes one phone call to change things. It takes one phone call for things to get kicked into gear. But no, like as of right now, I had it in the opening day lineup projection that we talked about the other day. The outfield, in my opinion, at this moment is Zach Cole in left, Jake Myers in center, and Cam Smith in right. And Jesus Sanchez maybe as a platoon guy with Cam in right field. I think Jesus Sanchez is far more likely to be moved before the beginning of the season than Jake Myers is. But again, things can change. And I think it's more so moving Sanchez. It's more because, he's making a sizable amount of money and there's just no real path that they'd want to play him every day. And if you do play him every day, you're taking at bats away from Cam Smith and Zach Cole, who, if we've believed anything that the guys running the team have said for the last year, it's like, if we carry young guys on the roster, we're playing them every day. So carrying Jesus Sanchez would counter that claim for both of those guys. He would take at bats away from younger guys. So I would probably think that he was more likely to be moved than Jake Myers. But again, the way trades work, the way any of this stuff works, one phone call can change anything. That's just kind of my read on it right now.
I feel like we just don't say this name a lot, but what about Zach DeZenzo? I mean, I know he was injured some last year, and he's not a guy that you're circling as your everyday outfielder or anything like that, but he was good, especially in 2024. What do you hear kind of internally about what the Astros think about him?
They still like him. Don't get me wrong. Like, they haven't cast him aside. He's not like old news. I think the injuries killed him last year, right? Like it was just a tough year for him staying on the field. I think Zach's problem, for one, is that the positions he plays, as we have talked about, there's a pretty big logjam. Like he's a corner infielder. You've already got almost $30 million committed to first base between 2 guys, and then at third base, that dude ain't coming off the field. So he can't play second, he can't play short, and then really you're only going to put him in left field in some pretty advantageous left fields at Dyken Park or at kind of smaller left fields. Zach's a big guy, but he is more athletic maybe than meets the eye just in terms of his body type. But I think for him to make an impact, he's going to have to hit his way onto the roster. This is going to have to be one of those situations where he goes and has a Cam Smith or really a Zach DeZenzo style spring, because Cam stole all the headlines last spring. Zach DeZenzo was just as good. Like he tore up Grapefruit League pitching, and that's why he made the roster. He made the opening day roster, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Well, that's why he made the roster, because he tore it up in spring training and he hit his way onto the team. I don't see a path to every day at bats for him on this team. Again, just given the lack of positional versatility. It's always interesting to me, and maybe I should do this as a story. Like, at what point do evaluators and maybe, PD guys or GMs or managers at what point with a prospect do you look at him and say, like, all right, we need to stop worrying about finding him every day at bats, and just like his development is now tailored toward like helping the big league team in any cost, whether that's, sitting for a couple days and being a pinch hitter late in the game, or whether that's being a platoon bat, whether that's being, a backup somewhere and riding the bench for a little bit. Because I think the Astros are coming up on that decision with Zach DeZenzo, with Bryce Matthews. They've got, it's an interesting, I'm telling story ideas to myself on the pod. Like, that's something that I like to look into, because I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
Zach Cole, I think, is in that boat too, where I think, yes, they want him to have every day at bats, but I would imagine that even if he's not the starter every day, that they keep him around, at least at the beginning, just as a bat that they trust. Because again, both of those guys are older too. I mean, DeZenzo is in his age 26 season. I think Zach Cole is too, maybe 25.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
they're not 21.
Right.
They're older, more established guys. And honestly, that's a position where the Astros have some trade flexibility as well. If a team needs a fourth outfielder or corner infield help or something, and you want a guy with 5 or 6 years of team control, Zach DeZenzo is a good fit in those trade discussions as well.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know how much you would get back for him, just given
No,
the
I
lack
don't
of
mean that you would get
right.
as far as a prospect goes, but I mean, you know, it does make sense, especially if it's paired with salary stuff. It's
Yeah.
okay. In addition to covering some of this salary, you also get this guy with all this team control in a position where you don't have as much, you know, internal depth in those
Are you
places.
basically saying in appreciation for you paying a first baseman $20
Mm-hmm.
million or
Correct.
$15 million or
Here's a
$12
guy you
million
can pay $500,000 for
for the
the
next
next few
3 years?
years. Yeah. There you go.
Maybe,
Well, then
but
you're only averaging paying $10 million to a first baseman, so it's actually not that bad.
yeah, I think it's going to be. And I like Zach. I'd like to. I like talking to him. I think he's very introspective. I think he's a good dude, but I think it's gonna be tough for him to crack the opening day roster. And if he does, and I think that's the disconnect, right? And this may not just be with Astros fans, but I think it's maybe with baseball fans in general. Like people fall in love with the guys at AAA. They fall in love with the guys that are mashing. Shea Whitcomb's been in this category because he's mashed in AAA for 4 years now. Bryce Matthews, Zach DeZenzo, and they all clamor for them to come up, and then they come up and there's no place to play them, and so they sit on the bench and everyone is just goes catatonic when like Shea Whitcomb doesn't play or DeZenzo or Bryce, and it's like that's the double-edged sword you have here. Like you can carry these guys if it makes you feel good, but like at the end of the day they're trying to win, and there's guys that are just more established, being paid more, and that are producing more at these positions than some of these guys are. So it's not always as easy as just get them on the roster and play them, because they've just got a lot of guys that do a lot of similar things. They
Some
don't.
of some of you guys were not around for Brett Wallace, and it shows. Okay, sometimes it's hard to jump from mashing in AAA to success in the big leagues.
They need to have
All-time AAA All-Star Brett Wallace. That guy was.
Shea Whitcomb's up there. Shea
Brett Wallace
Whitcomb's
was hitting just like 330 with pop in the minors for years, and just could never quite make it work at the big league level. But that guy was a monster in AAA.
Yeah, Shea's nipping at his heels for that one. I did see today. I haven't confirmed it yet. This is tying a lot of things in. I did see on social media today that Shea Whitcomb may play for Team Korea in the WBC. If he does,
Okay.
I think his mother's Korean. I don't want to speak out of turn on that, but someone in his, I think it's either mom or dad or Korean. But anyway,
Cool.
that leads us into more controversy. As we briefly discussed on the podcast on Thursday, Carlos Correa is not going to play in the WBC. Neither is Jose Altuve. Since then, Puerto Rico has basically threatened to boycott the tournament. They've threatened, their federation head has basically said, like, we are considering pulling our team from the tournament because they have had a ton of issues getting guys insured. Francisco Lindor was denied insurance coverage, as was Carlos Correa. They've had a lot of guys pull out. And the other thing is that they are hosting a round of pool play for the first time in a very long time. And they're worried that they're not going to represent their country as well as they could, because not only is it that their best players are getting pulled out, but it's on a short notice too. Like rosters are due on Thursday for the WBC, and like they just learned about Lindor like this weekend. So there was some reporting done by a friend of the pod, Ken Rosenthal and Evan Drellick, this week at The Athletic, in which it was kind of enlightening that basically the injuries sustained in the 2023 WBC by both Jose Altuve and Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz ruptures he tore his ACL while celebrating after Puerto Rico won. Jose Altuve broke his thumb after he got hit by a pitch. Those two injuries have now basically skyrocketed insurance premiums and how difficult it is to insure guys for this WBC. So in Evan and Ken's reporting, essentially, if you have been on the 60-day IL in the previous year, or if you have had surgery, you are basically uninsurable. So that would explain why Jose Altuve is uninsurable. He did have the minor procedure on his foot this November, I believe is in November. There's also something that if you're over age 37, you're uninsurable. So maybe that's the line of demarcation. So Jose Altuve, he turns 36 in May. So it's not an age thing with Altuve. It's a surgical thing. Correa obviously did not have either of those things. He didn't have a surgery, and he didn't go on the 60-day. He actually played 144 games last year, which was the most
he's spiritually 37, though. That makes sense.
Sure, and he's spiritually always injured, which doesn't help the insurance claim either.
I hope they figure it out for the next round. You hope that in the next CBA too, that there's some sort of agreement in place between the WBC, because you also have to remember, like, baseball nerds were really into the last one, 2023, and especially the one before that, where it was just kind of starting up. The last one was enough to get kind of casual people involved or whatever. But I think also timed with the Olympics, this season of the WBC is going to be particularly big, especially with the strength of the U.S. roster, the number of stars there, and people care about it. People have been talking about it for years. So you hope that swings back the other way for the next one, where it's, look, this is something that's really important to the players. There's enough fan support behind it now, too, where people want to see the best players. Obviously, they can figure out how to do it in soccer. Those guys play year-round for 8 different teams all the time. So there's ways to figure it out, but, I think it probably just wasn't a priority until the popularity really exploded in the last WBC. So hopefully they get that figured out, because it's such a fun event. I mean, you need to see the best players playing in it. That's the whole point.
Right. I mean, and this sucks. I mean, it just there's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I haven't. Maybe we'll ask Altuve about this when we get to spring training. But like, if this stays in place and 37-year-olds aren't insurable, can Jose Altuve play in another WBC?
I mean, at that point, he can just get off his rocking chair and do whatever he wants,
Well, it may be like the Miguel Cabrera situation from 23 when they didn't insure him, but the Tigers basically were like, all right, well, if you get hurt, we'll pay you. It was a nod to him for.
Well, I would imagine that's going to have to be an agreement in place going forward, where, look, you employ superstars. This is a superstar event. There's an inherent risk to that happening. But there's also an inherent risk to them playing for Mickey in Kissimmee in February. It happens. There's both of those injuries, as we talked about. It'd be different if there was just this rash of like pitcher injuries, blowing their arms out from the WBC. Notable. I mean, obviously there's always going to be pitcher injuries, but it'd be different if you just like watched 8 guys walk off the mound in the WBC because they blew their arms out. There's no discernible difference as far as ramping up for the season between this and spring training. Obviously the games mean more, but it's not like you're sustaining like so much more effort. Like an at bat isn't a bat. Like it just, you might run harder going to second, so maybe you pull a hammy or something, but it's not like, it's not like basketball where you're just sprinting the whole time, and you could see how if the adrenaline gets going, like you are more susceptible to injury if you're not built up to that. A guy hitting is not, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like that much more dangerous in the WBC than it would somewhere else. But
I'll push back a little bit on the pitcher injuries, just because maybe we have not seen them walk off of the WBC mound injured.
Mm-hmm.
But I can just tell you from conversations with people that would know, people in the sport, they think there is a link. They think there has been a link in some cases to ramping up, to getting ramped up that early. And then the other thing is like they're coming down from being ramped, like because they're going, for lack of a better word, they're going balls to the wall at the WBC, like adrenaline out of their mind. Like Luis Garcia was throwing 98 and
that was awesome
at the WBC in 23. And then like a week later, they're pitching on a backfield against some like Cardinals AA kids where like, yeah, they're trying, but they're not throwing 100 miles an hour. So
yeah, but I mean, playing at Yankee Stadium on Friday in April, like
dude, it's different. Like
I agree with you.
A big league game.
Like, I know what you mean, but I still think, look, it's gonna that's part of the sport. So again, if they want to make this event work, we who cares? That's my opinion. Is that I hope as many people get to play as possible. So hopefully they figure that out. So we're not running into this.
If I'm putting my psychologist hat on, like I think you're just sitting here like you don't want it to be true, but like you're kind of like I'm the same way. Like I wish there wasn't this connection. Like I wish like all the guys that want to play could play because it's a great event. It does a lot for the sport. Like it gets baseball talked about, not even just MLB, but it gets like the entire sport of baseball talked about on a global level. Like the game needs it. But I can't get, I also, and I want to make this clear, like I did on the last podcast, Jim Crane's involved in this too. It's not just Jim Crane. There's a lot of owners that are involved in this, and a lot of owners don't want their guys playing. I can't say I disagree with them though. Like if you're going to pay Carlos Correa $31 million, and I can say that because Carlos Correa said on the record, Jim Crane called him and said, I want you to focus on the season. We had too many injuries last year, and I want you to focus on the season. Now, Carlos said he would have played if he would have gotten insurance, but again, like that's out there. Like owners don't like their guys playing either, and I got to be honest with you, I can't blame them.
Yeah, but all it takes is, in 2 years, Jeremy Pena saying whatever team I signed for has to agree to let me play in the next WBC. Like that's all it's going to take is a handful of superstars just saying like, this is important to me. So the next contract I sign, you're going to let me play in this. And then it's just going to be part of the sport.
I'm kind of surprised that hasn't happened yet.
Well, that's my point is that the first, what was it? 2019, the kind of first
17, I think.
Yeah. Restart of the WBC was really big for people that already loved baseball, but it was not anywhere near talked about. And then the last one just had such a great ending with Japan and the US and, Trout and Shohei. And so, it built up enough to where people are talking about it for the next, and it takes a few events for it to be important. But I mean, look, you talk about pitcher injuries and all that stuff. I agree with you. You know what else is hurting pitchers is the pitch clock, and baseball is objectively better with the pitch clock. Sometimes things that make baseball better add a little bit of risk to it, and you just have to adjust and move on. But I mean, if the point is to make baseball a global and popular game, and I think baseball's in a better place than it has been in a long time, as far as just like national recognition, the amount of people paying attention to it. I think it's in a really good spot. There's so many great young superstars who are interesting and exciting. And so, you hope that it doesn't become too big of a story around, you would hate to see something with Puerto Rico pulling out or, something like that, where it tarnishes something that's really cool.
Yeah. And look, it's better when Puerto Rico's good because Puerto Rico has there's so many good players, like Venezuela too, like the DR. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's again, like we say all this, like if you can get to a WBC game at Dyken Park, please go.
Wait.
Like, please go. Like you should probably go to US, try to get in for US Mexico because that's going to be lit. But like, if you can only get in for like the US and Italy, like it's still going to be fun. Like if you can get
Paredes is not playing correct for Mexico.
I don't think so.
But he played the whole. Again, he played winter ball all year. What are we doing?
We just talked about how Jose Altuve getting like wound drain in his foot couldn't get him insured.
I see highlights of this man every other day on Twitter hitting dingers in Mexico. Like, what are we doing? Let him play.
Isaac Paredes like almost tore his hamstring off the bone. I don't think that's getting insured for much, but it may not be the Astros' problem. They may not be paying him in a week. Who knows? But yeah, if you can get to Dyken Park, go to a WBC game. If you can get to the quarterfinal, I presume Puerto Rico is going to advance out of its, presuming it plays. I presume Puerto Rico is going to advance out of its pool. If they do, they come to Dyken Park for the quarterfinal round. I presume the U.S. will get out of the pool that they're playing at Dyken Park. U.S., Puerto Rico, and Houston would be, as the children say, lit. You should.
Do they? I think you might be late on that.
Am I?
I think so.
Okay.
It's too bad.
All right, whatever. Did we miss anything?
Probably. They'll let us know in the comments. At
Oh,
least
yeah,
I said Zach DeZenzo.
I mean,
satisfy that.
I said the New York Football Giants. So
that was good. I like. Yeah. Well, I mean, I said Joey Harrington. It's a great podcast all around.
See how much we prep for this? That's why you should. That's why you should always keep in touch with us. You can follow me on X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C Stafford. Please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. Help us for our race to 5,000 YouTube subscribers. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like the video on YouTube. That really helps us out. We will be back next week. I know we've been teasing guests. We will have guests next week. I know one for sure is locked in. Working on 2 others that I think everyone will be excited about. But so until then, until we get confirmation from those people, we will talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.
Hopefully I can get my arm insured for this. Bye.